Running from him or to me?
Running from my nephew? Don Lorenzo Armonte's voice stopped me cold. His scarred hand held the elevator doors open, those whiskey eyes boring into mine. Or to me. I stood there in my torn wedding dress, mascara streaking down my face, staring at the most dangerous man in Italy. You're his uncle. This is insane. The words came out before I could stop them. I know, he said, voice like gravel and sin. That's why I shouldn't be here. But he was here, blocking my escape, offering me something that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Behind me, 6 flights up, my fiancé Matteo was probably still in bed with Sofia, my best friend, my chief bridesmaid, laughing about how frigid I was for saving myself. In front of me stood his uncle, 20 years older, devastatingly handsome and dangerous. The man I'd been fighting my attraction to for 6 months. So choose Imelda. Lorenzo stepped into the elevator and suddenly the space felt impossibly small. Running from him, or to me. My hands trembled as I clutched the private investigator's report I'd found in Matteo's safe. Proof he'd destroyed my brother Samuel, cut his brake lines, left him paralyzed, just to trap me into this marriage. I had 2 choices: go back upstairs and marry a monster, or trust the devil who looked at me like I was worth dying for. If you're already hooked and need to know what I chose, and trust me, you need to know, stick with me and don't scroll away yet. Because what happened next changed everything. Subscribe and follow along because this story gets dangerous, passionate, and absolutely unhinged. And I promise you, by the end you'll understand why sometimes the most sacred choice is choosing yourself. Now let me tell you how a pastor's daughter from East Africa ended up in the most dangerous Italian mafia boss's arms. This wasn't supposed to happen. My name is Imelda Amalfi, and I came to Rome 5 years ago with a suitcase full of dreams and my mother's prayers. Daughter of Pastor Emanuele Amalfi, raised on scripture and sacrifice, determined to build something of my own. I studied fashion design, worked 3 jobs, built a boutique on Via Condotti through pure determination and talent. I was succeeding. I was free. Then I met Matteo Armonte at a gallery opening, and like an idiot I believed in fairy tales. Big mistake. Because this morning, 2 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, I went to his study to get my grandmother's bracelet from his safe. And found something else. A private investigator's report. Surveillance photos of my brother Samuel. Mechanical assessments of his car. A timeline that made my blood run cold. Proceed with brake line modification. Target: permanent injury to create financial dependency. Matteo had orchestrated Samuel's accident. Cut his brake lines. Left him paralyzed from the waist down. All because 6 months ago I tried to postpone our wedding, and he needed leverage to force me back in line. I stood there shaking, report in my hands, thinking, I need Sofia. My best friend will know what to do. So I went to find her in the guest suite 2 doors down. The door was ajar. I heard sounds inside. Laughter. I pushed it open. And there they were. Sofia, my best friend of 4 years, the woman who'd held my hand through every doubt, who'd known about my commitment to wait until marriage, naked in Matteo's bed. Matteo, my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry in 2 hours, with his hands all over her. They hadn't seen me yet. Sofia's voice teasing, God, you're insatiable. How does Imelda think you've been waiting 6 months? Matteo's laugh, cruel, mocking, she actually believes I've been celibate. Like her Victorian Virgin Act has that much power. I still can't believe she won't sleep with you. What is she, saving it for Jesus? Sofia's voice dripped with contempt. Every time I try, it's, I made a promise to God, and I want our wedding night to be special. Matteo's voice turned vicious. Meanwhile she kisses like she's terrified. He's fucking boring. At least you know how to please a man. Poor baby. Having to marry a frigid little church girl. The things I do for business. Matteo sighed dramatically. Her father's import connections, the African market expansion, worth it. But don't worry, amore, after the wedding you're still the one I actually fuck. She can have the ring and the title. You get the passion. Their laughter. The sound of skin on skin. The sight of Sofia's hand in his hair. I made a sound. Small. Broken. Strangled. They turned. Matteo's face wasn't guilty. It was annoyed. Imelda. You're early. This isn't. We can discuss this after the ceremony. I ran. Past bridesmaids. Past my mother calling my name. Past the life I thought I wanted. Down 6 flights of emergency stairs, my Vera Wang dress tearing with every step, my bare feet slapping against concrete. Flashbacks hit me with every floor. 6 months ago, Samuel's crash. Mateo's generosity, paying the 300,000 euros in medical bills. Me feeling trapped. For months ago, Mateo pressuring me. Are you sure you're not just frigid? What's wrong with you? Making me feel broken. 2 months ago, Sophia being so supportive. You're right to wait. Don't let him pressure you. Lies. All lies. Every family dinner. Lorenzo watching me. Silent. Intense. The only person who seemed to see me drowning. 3 months ago charity gala. Lorenzo finding me alone on a terrace. Are you happy? I couldn't answer. His response, when you're ready to stop pretending, find me. Back to present. I reached the elevator. Pressed the button frantically. The doors started closing. Finally. Freedom. Until a scarred hand shot through the gap. The doors opened and Lorenzo Armanti filled the space. Not my fiancé. My fiancé's uncle. 6'2" of dark Italian elegance. Silver-threaded hair. Whiskey eyes that missed nothing. A scar bisecting his left eyebrow from some knife fight I'd never ask about. That predatory stillness that made every woman in a room hold her breath. The most dangerous man in Italy. And the man I'd been fighting my attraction to for 6 months. Those eyes swept over me. Torn dress, bare feet, tears streaking my face, report clutched in my shaking hands. He didn't ask what happened. He asked something far more dangerous. Running from him? His voice was velvet over steel. A pause that felt eternal. Or to me. You're his uncle. I wanted to scream. This is insane. This is forbidden. This is wrong. But my mouth said, I thought I was escaping the worst betrayal of my life. And now. Lorenzo stepped into the elevator, blocking the panel. Those eyes seeing everything. The devastation, the rage, the trembling hands. Now I don't know if I'm escaping or running toward something worse. His jaw tightened. Show me what you found. I thrust the report at him with shaking hands. Your nephew put my brother in a wheelchair to force me to marry him. Lorenzo read it and I watched his expression go absolutely lethal. But he sensed there was more. And, he prompted, voice deadly quiet. And 30 minutes ago I found him in bed with Sophia. My voice cracked. My best friend. My chief bridesmaid. They were laughing about how frigid I am. How I won't give him anything. How boring I am because I'm saving myself for. I couldn't finish. Couldn't say the words. Couldn't admit that I'd made a promise at 16 to wait for marriage, for someone who'd respect that choice, and Mateo had turned it into a weapon. Made me feel broken for wanting something sacred. Lorenzo's expression was murder. Where is he? Upstairs. Probably still. I gestured helplessly. He pulled out his phone. Rapid Italian, commanding, cold, absolute. I caught words. Trasferimento medico, medical transfer. Protezione della famiglia, family protection. Immediatamente, immediately. He hung up. Looked at me. Your brother's medical care is being transferred out of Mateo's control as we speak. Top specialists. Experimental treatments. Everything. His voice softened. Your family is being secured. Practed. You're free, Imelda. My knees buckled. He caught me, and for the first time in 6 months, since Samuel's accident, since I'd been trapped in this engagement, since I'd felt like a prisoner in my own life, I felt safe. But you have to choose. Right now. His eyes bored into mine. Go back upstairs. Marry the man who destroyed your brother and betrayed you with your best friend. Play the good pastor's daughter who forgives and forgets. His jaw tightened. Or come with me. Trust me. Let me show you what you're actually worth. I don't even know you, I whispered. You know I'm the only one who's been honest with you, Lorenzo said quietly. You know I'm dangerous. You know I'm your fiancé's uncle, which makes this forbidden in every possible way. He stepped closer and I felt the heat of him. And you know, you've known for 6 months, that there's something between us that terrifies you. My breath hitched. As it was true. Every family dinner where he'd stood up to defend me when some Italian socialite made a racist comment. I hope the children aren't too dark. while Matteo just laughed awkwardly. Every time Lorenzo had caught my eye across a room and I'd felt seen for the first time in months. Every moment I'd found myself thinking about his hands, his voice, the way he moved through the world like violence was a language he spoke fluently. I'd been drowning in Matteo's golden cage, and Lorenzo had been the only one watching me go under. So choose Imelda. His voice dropped to something that felt like a caress. Running from him? Long loaded pause. The elevator hummed. My heart hammered. Outside, Rome carried on, oblivious to the fact that my entire life was balanced on the edge of this moment. Or to me. I looked at this dangerous, beautiful man who saw me. Not my virginity, not my obedience, not my father's business connections, not the exotic African bride Matteo showed off at parties, but me. Imelda. The woman who'd built something from nothing. The woman who'd had the strength to say no for 10 years. The woman who was steel wrapped in grace. Who looked at me like I was powerful instead of property. And I made the most insane, terrifying, inevitable decision of my life. To you, I breathed. God help me to you. Lorenzo's smile was devastating, pride and possession and promise all wrapped into one lethal expression. God has nothing to do with what I'm about to do, he said, taking my hand. His fingers interlaced with mine, warm, strong, scarred. But I promise you this, Bellissima. By the time I'm done you'll know exactly what you're worth. And my nephew will know exactly what he lost. He pulled me toward the parking garage exit and I ran. Past my old life. Past safety. Past everything I thought I wanted. Straight into the arms of the devil. Here's what I didn't know in that moment. Lorenzo Armanti wasn't just helping me escape. He was claiming me. And in his world, the world of blood and power and Italian mafia families, what the uncle claims the nephew can never take back. So buckle up. Because this pastor's daughter is about to learn what it means to be a mafia queen. And trust me, I have claws I didn't even know I had. Want to know what happened in that car? In his Tuscan fortress? When Matteo came for revenge. Keep watching. Because this story is just getting started. Type, Queen Imelda, if you're ready for this ride. 6 months earlier I walked into hell wearing yellow. I didn't know it was hell, of course. It looked like paradise. The Armanti family compound in the hills outside Rome, all honey-colored stone and climbing bougainvillea, string lights glittering like fallen stars across the courtyard. Italian high society in their designer clothes, champagne flowing like water, a string quartet playing something Mozart that made the warm September evening feel like a dream. Matteo's hand was hot and possessive on the small of my back as he guided me through the crowd. Smile, amore, he murmured. These people need to see how happy we are. I smiled. I was good at smiling. Pastors' daughters learn early how to perform joy even when we're drowning inside. Everyone, Matteo announced, his voice carrying across the courtyard. I want you to meet my beautiful fiancée Imelda Amafi. My African princess. African princess. Like I was an exotic acquisition instead of a person. But I smiled wider and let him show me off like a prize he'd won. My brother Samuel stood near the fountain with my parents, looking uncomfortable in his borrowed suit. He caught my eye and made a face that said these people are ridiculous, and I had to swallow a laugh. At least he was here. At least I had one person in this crowd who saw me as Imelda, not as Matteo's exotic bride-to-be. She's quite striking, a woman in head-to-toe Valentino said to her companion, not bothering to lower her voice. Very exotic. I do hope the children won't be too dark. The words hit like a slap. I felt my smile freeze, felt heat crawl up my neck. Matteo laughed. Actually laughed. Signora Bianchi, you're terrible, he said like she'd made a charming joke instead of a racist comment. He squeezed my waist. Imelda has the most beautiful skin, doesn't she? Like honey. He was comparing my skin to food while doing nothing to defend me. Nothing. I wanted to leave. Wanted to grab Samuel and my parents and run back to our hotel. Back to the life I'd built for myself in Rome that had nothing to do with these people and their casual cruelty. But then I felt it. Eyes on me. Burning. Intense. I turned, scanning the crowd, and that's when I saw him. He stood alone near the stone wall that overlooked the valley, half in shadow. Tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair shot through with silver at the temples, sharp features that looked carved from marble, and eyes that even from 30 feet away made my breath catch. Whiskey-colored. Amber. Fixed on me with an intensity that felt like touching fire. He wasn't smiling. Wasn't pretending. Just watching. Like I was the only person in the entire courtyard worth his attention. Our eyes locked and everything else faded. The music, the conversation, Mateo's hand on my waist. It was just me and this dangerous-looking stranger and something electric crackling between us that I didn't understand and absolutely shouldn't want. I looked away first, heart hammering, face burning. "Ah," Mateo said, following my gaze. "You've spotted my uncle. Come, I'll introduce you." Uncle. Uncle. This man who just made me forget how to breathe was Mateo's uncle. Mateo led me across the courtyard, and with every step closer my pulse kicked higher. Up close, the man was devastating. That scar bisecting his left eyebrow, another thin line along his jaw, the kind of stillness that didn't feel peaceful but predatory. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than my car, and his hands, scarred knuckles, a single silver ring, looked like they'd seen violence. "Uncle Lorenzo," Mateo said cheerfully. "He actually came. I'm shocked. This is my fiancée Imelda Amalfi. Imelda, this is Lorenzo Armanti. He rarely graces us with his presence." Lorenzo's handshake was warm, rough, and lingered just a second too long. "Congratulations," he said, voice deep with a slight rasp that sent shivers down my spine. His eyes held mine. "I hope you know what you're choosing." The emphasis on choosing felt like a warning. Before I could respond, we were called to dinner. The long table under the pergola, course after course of Italian delicacies, wine flowing, conversations in rapid Italian I only half understood. I sat beside Mateo playing the role of happy bride-to-be, while Lorenzo sat across from us for seats down. I felt his eyes on me all night. Every time I glanced up, there he was, watching with that unreadable expression that made my skin prickle with awareness. Then came the moment that changed everything. Signora Bianchi, 3 glasses of wine in, looked at me and said loudly, "Tell me, Imelda, do they celebrate engagements the same way in Africa? With dowries and tribal ceremonies?" The table went quiet. My face burned. She was talking about an entire continent like it was one village. Mateo squeezed my hand under the table. Now, he said with that same uncomfortable laugh. "Let's not." "No, let's." Lorenzo's voice cut through the awkwardness like a blade. He stood slowly, eyes fixed on Signora Bianchi. "Apologize to Imelda. No. Or leave my brother's house and never return." The silence that followed was deafening. Signora Bianchi's face went white. I didn't mean. Apologize." Lorenzo's voice dropped to something lethal. "Or leave." "I apologize," she stammered. "I'm sorry, I'll just..." She grabbed her clutch and fled, her companion scurrying after her. Lorenzo sat back down without another word, picked up his wine glass, and the conversation slowly resumed around us. But I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, because no one had ever defended me like that. Mateo certainly hadn't. He'd made excuses for her. But Lorenzo had stood up, had drawn a line, had made it clear that disrespecting me meant consequences. I looked at him across the table and he looked back, and something passed between us that felt dangerous and inevitable and absolutely forbidden. Later, after dinner, I escaped to the terrace overlooking the valley. I needed air, space, time to process the fact that I'd just felt more seen by Mateo's uncle in 5 minutes than I'd felt by my fiancé in 6 months. "Are you happy?" I spun around. Lorenzo stood in the doorway, backlit by the party inside, drink in hand. My throat went tight. I couldn't answer. Couldn't lie to those eyes that saw too much. "You don't have to lie to me," he said quietly, stepping onto the terrace. "I can see it. You're drowning." "I'm fine," I managed. "Mateo he's good to me." "Good isn't the same as right." He moved closer and I could smell his cologne, bergamot and something darker. "When you're ready to stop pretending, find me." Then he walked away, leaving me alone with my racing heart and the terrible knowledge that he was absolutely right. I was drowning. And he was the only one who'd noticed. That night, lying in my hotel room while Mateo slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and tried not to think about whiskey eyes and scarred hands and a voice that promised danger. I told myself I'd imagined it. That I was just nervous about the engagement. That Lorenzo's intensity meant nothing. But deep down I knew I was lying. Something had started tonight. Something forbidden and dangerous and absolutely inevitable. I just didn't know yet that it would cost me everything I thought I wanted. and give me everything I actually needed. 2 weeks after the engagement party, Mateo's mask started slipping. It was small things at first. Questions that felt like interrogations. Where were you today? Who did you see? Why didn't you answer when I called? His tone light, casual, but his eyes hard. Then came the criticism. That dress is a bit revealing, don't you think? Maybe something more conservative. Translation: less African, more Italian. Do you have to wear your hair like that? It's very ethnic. Translation: I'm embarrassed by your natural beauty. We should move the wedding up. Why wait 8 months? Let's do it in 6. Translation: I want you locked down before you realize what you're getting into. The sexual pressure started around week 3. When are you going to stop making me wait? Mateo asked one night, hand sliding up my thigh in his car. This virginity thing is getting old, amore. I moved his hand away. I've told you. It's important to me. My faith. Your faith, he interrupted with a sigh. Are you sure you're not just scared? Frigid. The word hit like a punch. I'm not frigid. I just want to wait. For what? We're getting married. What difference do a few months make? His voice hardened. Unless you're not actually attracted to me. That's not fair. Then prove it. He pulled me close, kissed me hard, hands grabbing. When I tensed up, he pulled back with disgust. See? You can't even kiss me properly. It's like kissing a nun. I felt sick. Like something was wrong with me for wanting to honor a promise I'd made to myself and to God. Things escalated fast after that. The night I tried to talk to him about postponing the wedding, his rage erupted like a volcano. We have a date, Imelda. He gripped my wrist hard enough to bruise. My family has made arrangements. Invitations are being printed. You don't just change plans because you're having cold feet. I'm not having cold feet, I just think. Then stop thinking. His face was inches from mine, and for the first time I saw something cruel in his eyes. I've been patient with your religious hang-ups. With your need to save yourself, like this is the Victorian era. But I'm done waiting. We're getting married in 6 months. End of discussion. He released my wrist and walked away, leaving me shaking. That night I called Samuel. He was in Rome on business, staying at a hotel near the airport. I think I need to end this, I told him. Then do it. His voice was fierce and protective, exactly what I needed. Mel, I've been worried about you. This guy. Something's off. I don't trust him. Really? Really? You're my baby sister. If your gut is telling you to run, then run. I'll support you. Family first, always. I exhaled shakily. Hey, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll tell him it's over. You want me to be there? No, I'll be fine. Thank you, Sam. I love you. Love you too, Mel. Be safe. I hung up feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Tomorrow I'd end it. Tomorrow I'd be free. The call came at 3 in the morning. My mother, sobbing. It's Samuel. He's been in an accident. His car went off the road near Fiumicino. They're saying brake failure. Baby, they don't know if he's going to. I don't remember the flight to Nairobi. Don't remember the taxi to the hospital. Just the endless white hallways and the smell of antiseptic in my father's face. Gray, aged 10 years overnight. Samuel made it through surgery. Barely. The doctor's words felt like bullets. T10 spinal injury. Paralysis from the waist down. I'm sorry, but it's permanent. With the severity of the damage, even with the most advanced treatments. My mother collapsed. My father caught her. And I just stood there numb, thinking about our phone call. About how I'd asked him to come to Rome. About how if I'd just married Mateo sooner, Samuel would still be whole. The medical bills were staggering. 300,000 euros for immediate care. Ongoing costs that would bankrupt us. My boutique couldn't cover a fraction of it. My parents' church salary was barely enough to survive on. I was desperate. Drowning in guilt and terror. Then Mateo appeared in the hospital lobby like an answer to a prayer I hadn't prayed. Amore. He pulled me into his arms. I came as soon as I heard. How is he? Paralyzed. The bills, we can't. Let me help. His voice was so kind, so gentle. I'll cover everything. The best surgeons. Private facility. Experimental treatments. Whatever Samuel needs. I can't accept that much money. You're my fiancé. He cupped my face. This is what family does. Let me do this for you. For Samuel. I wanted to say no. Wanted to refuse. But Samuel needed care I couldn't provide. My family was drowning. Okay, I whispered. Thank you. He paid. Everything. Top specialists flew in from Switzerland and America. Samuel was moved to a private facility with round-the-clock care. Experimental treatments were started immediately. And slowly, over the following weeks as Samuel's condition stabilized, Mateo's kindness curdled into something else. The wedding is still in 6 months, right? Your family needs stability right now. Let's keep that plan. Not a suggestion. A reminder. I realized with sick horror what I'd done. I'd sold myself to save my brother. Breaking off the engagement now meant Samuel losing care. Meant condemning him to a public hospital where he'd be just another patient, not a priority. Meant watching him deteriorate because I was too selfish to endure 6 months of marriage. The cage door had closed. And I'd walked into it willingly. Back in Rome, Mateo's control intensified. He monitored my phone. Just making sure you're safe, amore. He controlled my finances slowly. Let me help with your boutique expenses. You have so much on your mind. He isolated me from friends. Sophia mentioned you haven't been answering her calls. Are you okay? And at every family dinner I felt Lorenzo's eyes on me. Watching. Waiting. Like he could see the cage I was trapped in and was just waiting for me to admit it. One night I caught him alone in the hallway. You look tired, he said quietly. I almost broke down right there. Almost told him everything. But what could I say? Your nephew is controlling and cruel, but I'm trapped because he's paying my brother's medical bills? I'm fine, I lied. Lorenzo's eyes held mine. When you're ready to stop lying, I'll still be here. Then he walked away and I stood there thinking about how much I wanted to follow him. But I couldn't. Because Samuel's life depended on my compliance. So I went back to the dining room, smiled at Mateo and planned a wedding that felt like a funeral. Wedding morning arrived like an execution date. I woke up in the luxury hotel suite Mateo had booked, surrounded by bridesmaids and makeup artists and wedding planners, all of them treating me like a doll to be dressed and positioned. The Vera Wang gown hung on the closet door like a ghost. 15,000 euros of ivory silk and lace that Mateo had chosen because it makes you look more refined. Translation, less black, more acceptable. Sophia fluttered around me like a hummingbird, adjusting my veil, laughing with the other bridesmaids. My best friend for 4 years. The woman who'd held me while I cried about Samuel. Who'd encouraged me to stay strong when Mateo pressured me about sex. Who'd helped me choose flowers and cake flavors and convinced me this was all going to be okay. You look absolutely stunning, she gushed, squeezing my hand. Mateo's going to lose his mind when he sees you. I tried to smile. Couldn't quite manage it. The hair and makeup team finished, declared me perfection, and left to let me have a moment alone before photos. The bridesmaids went to get dressed. Sophia kissed my cheek. I'll be back in 20 minutes, babe, and disappeared. I looked at myself in the floor-length mirror. The woman staring back was a stranger. Sophisticated. Polished. Everything Mateo wanted me to be. Nothing like Imelda Amalfi, the pastor's daughter who'd come to Rome with dreams of building something real. Then I remembered. My grandmother's bracelet. The something borrowed tradition. I'd left it in Mateo's sweet safe yesterday when we were doing the rehearsal. I grabbed my room key and headed down the hallway. Knocked on his door. No answer. Used the spare key he'd given me and slipped inside. The suite was quiet. He must be with the groomsmen. I went to his study, entered the code I'd seen him use, his birthday backward, not very creative, and opened the safe. The bracelet was there. Small. Gold. My grandmother's from Lagos, the only thing of hers I had left. But there was something else. A folder. Marked I Matter Private. My initials. My hands shook as I pulled it out. Opened it. Private Investigator's Report. Dated 7 months ago. Surveillance photos of Samuel. His apartment. His car. His daily routine. Time-stamped. Obsessive. Mechanical Assessment Report. Subject vehicle brake line modification feasible. Access point beneath rear driver side. Estimated time, 4 minutes. Modification would cause gradual brake failure, catastrophic on mountain roads. Timeline notation. Execute week of September 15th to 20th. That was the week Samuel crashed. Handwritten note in Mateo's writing. Proceed with vehicle modification per timeline. Subject must survive but be significantly incapacitated. Target. Permanent injury to create financial dependency. Timing critical. Fiancé requested postponement this week. The room spun. My vision tunneled. He'd done this. Mateo had destroyed my brother. On purpose. To trap me. Follow-up report dated the week after the crash. Mission successful. Subject hospitalized with T10 spinal injury. Prognosis. Permanent paralysis. Family financial situation now critical. Leverage achieved for marriage compliance. Final note. Medical expenses arranged. Subject now dependent on our continued support. Wedding timeline secured. I was going to be sick. This wasn't love. It wasn't even business. It was ownership. Mateo had maimed my brother to force me to marry him. I heard voices in the hallway, the bridal party returning for photos. I shoved the report in my dress bodice, closed the safe with shaking hands, and slipped out of Mateo's suite. I needed Sophia. She would know what to do. She always knew what to do. I practically ran to her room 2 doors down from mine. The door was slightly ajar. I heard sounds inside. Not talking. Something else. Laughter. Breathless. Intimate. I pushed the door open. The world stopped. Sophia. Naked. In the bed. No. Equally naked. His hands on her skin. His mouth on her throat. They hadn't seen me yet. God, you're insatiable, Sophia gasped, arching into him. How does Imelda think you've been waiting 6 months? Mateo laughed. That cruel laugh I'd started to dread. She actually believes I've been celibate. Like her Victorian Virgin Act has that much power. I still can't believe she won't sleep with you. What is she, saving it for Jesus? Sophia's voice dripped with mockery. My vision blurred. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. Every time I try I made a promise to God, and I want our wedding night to be special. Mateo's voice was vicious. Meanwhile she kisses like she's terrified. Won't even let me touch her properly. She's fucking boring. Poor baby. Having to marry a frigid little church girl. The things I do for business. Mateo sighed. Her father's import connections, the African market expansion, worth it. But don't worry, Tesoro. After the wedding you're still the one I actually fuck. She can have the ring and the title. You get the passion. What if she never loosens up? Sophia asked. Then I'll keep you on the side and she can be the good little wife who pops out babies and looks pretty at events. Mateo's laugh was cruel. She's too much of a good girl to ever leave once we're married. Her precious faith won't let her divorce. They kissed. Passionate. His hands tangled in her hair. Her hair, the hair I'd helped her style 100 times. I made a sound. Small. Broken. Strangled. They froze. Turned. Saw me standing in the doorway in my wedding dress, tears streaming down my face, their betrayal written across my devastated expression. Mateo's face wasn't guilty. It was annoyed. Imelda. He didn't even bother covering himself. You're early. This isn't. We can discuss this after the ceremony. Sophia scrambled for the sheet, face flushed. Imelda, wait, let me explain. I didn't wait. I ran. Out of the room. Down the hallway. Past bridesmaids gasping. Past my mother calling my name. Imelda. Where are you going? Past my father trying to catch me. Past the life I thought I wanted. The wedding dress tore as I hit the emergency stairwell. 6 flights down. My bare feet slapping against concrete. My lungs burning. The report crumpling in my bodice. My mind replaying everything on a loop. Brother destroyed. Best friend betrayed. Fiancé cruel. Frigid. Boring. Victorian Virgin Act. She can have the title. You get the passion. I'd been so stupid. So naive. Believing in fairy tales. Believing people were good. I reached the ground floor. Burst through the door into the hotel lobby. Pressed the elevator button with shaking hands. The doors started closing. Finally. Freedom. Then a scarred hand shot through the gap. The doors opened. And Lorenzo Armanti stood there, filling the space with his dangerous elegance, his whiskey eyes seeing my devastation in one glance. Running from him? His voice was velvet over steel. Long pause. Or to me. And I realized, This was it. The moment. The choice. Go back and marry the monster. Or trust the devil. Lorenzo didn't move. He stood there blocking the elevator panel, those whiskey eyes cataloging every detail of my devastation. The torn dress, the bare feet, the tears, the shaking hands. Tell me. Not a question. A command. I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. My whole world had just imploded and he was standing there so calm, so controlled, like he'd been expecting this. Tell me what he did, Imelda. Softer now. Almost gentle. I pulled the report from my bodice with trembling fingers. Held it out. Your nephew put my brother in a wheelchair to force me to marry him. Lorenzo took it. Read it. I watched his expression transform from controlled neutrality to something absolutely lethal. His jaw clenched so hard I heard his teeth grind. The paper crumpled slightly in his grip. Where is he? The question came out deadly quiet. Upstairs. I couldn't finish. Couldn't say it. But Lorenzo saw something in my face. Recognized there was more. And his eyes locked on mine. My voice broke. And 30 minutes ago I found him in bed with Sophia. My best friend. My chief bridesmaid. The tears came harder now. They were laughing about how frigid I am. How I won't give him anything. How boring I am because I'm saving myself. Lorenzo went absolutely still. The kind of still that preceded violence. Then he pulled out his phone. Rapid Italian, voice cold as ice. I caught fragments. Trasferimento medico precision immediata, squadra di sicurezza. He was making calls. Multiple calls. Each one clipped, efficient, lethal in its precision. Finally he hung up. Looked at me. Your brother's medical care is being transferred to a private facility under my name. Top specialists from Switzerland. Experimental treatments. Everything. His voice was firm. Your family is being secured as we speak. My men are with them now. Matteo can't touch any of you. My knees buckled. He caught me before I hit the floor, strong hands steadying me against his chest. I could feel his heartbeat. Steady, controlled, when mine was a wild thing trying to escape my ribs. You're free, he said quietly against my hair. Do you understand? Free. I did understand. For the first time in 6 months I could breathe. But then reality crashed back. He'll stop the payments. Samuel will lose everything. I just told you. Samuel's care is mine now. Matteo has no leverage anymore. Lorenzo pulled back to look at me, his hands framing my face with surprising gentleness. But you have to choose. Right now. This moment. His thumbs brushed away my tears. The rough pads of his fingers against my skin made me shiver. Go back upstairs, he said, voice dropping low. Marry the man who destroyed your brother and betrayed you with your best friend. Play the good pastor's daughter who forgives. Smile for the photos. Spend the rest of your life in a cage. His jaw tightened. Or come with me. Trust me. Let me show you what you're actually worth. I don't even know you, I whispered. You know I'm the only one who's been honest with you, Lorenzo said quietly. You know I'm dangerous. You know I'm your fiancé's uncle, which makes this forbidden. He stepped closer and I felt the heat of him, smelled bergamot and something darker. And you know, you've known for 6 months, that there's something between us that terrifies you. My breath hitched. Guess it was true. God help me, it was true. Every family dinner where his eyes had found mine across the table. Every moment I'd felt his attention like a physical touch. Every time Matteo had made me feel small and Lorenzo had made me feel seen. I've been drowning, I admitted. And you're the only one who noticed. I noticed everything. His voice was rough with something that sounded like restraint. The way you flinch when he touches you. The way you fade when he talks. The way you only come alive when he's not in the room. His hands slid into my hair, careful, reverent. I've watched you disappear for 6 months, Bellissima. And I'm done watching. Why do you care? Something flickered in his eyes. Vulnerability quickly masked. Because at your engagement party, you looked at me like I was human instead of a monster. Because you smiled at me once and I felt something I haven't felt in 8 years. His forehead dropped to mine. Because I'm selfish and I want you and I'm done pretending I don't. The confession hung between us, electric and devastating. So choose Imelda. His breath ghosted across my lips, close enough to kiss but maddeningly distant. Running from him? The elevator hummed. My heart hammered. Outside, Rome carried on oblivious. Or to me. I looked at this dangerous, beautiful man who saw me. Not my virginity, not my obedience, not my father's business connections, not the exotic decoration Matteo wanted me to be, but me. Imelda. The woman who'd built a boutique from nothing. The woman who'd had the courage to wait for something real. The woman who was steel wrapped in grace. Who looked at me like I was powerful instead of property. And I made the choice that would change everything. To you, I breathed. God help me to you. Lorenzo's smile was devastating. Pride and possession and promise. God has nothing to do with what I'm about to do. But I promise you this, Bellissima. By the time I'm done, you'll know exactly what you're worth. He took my hand, fingers interlacing with mine. And my nephew will know exactly what he lost. He pulled me toward the parking garage and I went willingly. We burst through the exit into harsh sunlight. Lorenzo's car, a sleek black Maserati, waited near the service entrance. If I get you in that car, he said, voice rough with restraint, I won't be able to let you go. Ever. Is that what you want? I thought about Matteo's cruelty. Sophia's betrayal. Samuel in a wheelchair because I'd tried to escape. I thought about 6 months of drowning. Then I thought about the way Lorenzo looked at me like I was a warrior, not a victim. Yes, I said. That's exactly what I want. His eyes went molten. He pulled me against him, one hand fisting in my hair, the other spanning my waist possessively. Then God forgive me, he murmured against my lips. Because I'm about to start a war over you. That's when I heard it. Shouts from the hotel. Running footsteps. Matteo's voice, furious and getting closer. Imelda. You're mine. Lorenzo's phone exploded with alerts. He checked it, his expression going from heated to lethal. Get in the car, he commanded. Now. I didn't argue. I ran. Behind us, Matteo burst through the exit, still half-dressed, face purple with rage. You can't have her. She's mine. Lorenzo turned, and the smile he gave his nephew was absolutely terrifying. Not anymore, he said quietly. Then we were in the car, tires squealing, Rome blurring past as we left my old life and Matteo's fury, in the dust. I looked back once. Saw Matteo standing in the parking lot, fists clenched, surrounded by confused wedding guests. Then I turned forward. Toward Lorenzo. Toward whatever came next. Toward freedom. The drive to Tuscany took 2 hours. 2 hours of watching Rome fade into rolling hills and vineyards. 2 hours of Lorenzo on the phone speaking rapid Italian while I processed the fact that I'd just fled my wedding and climbed into a car with a man I barely knew. A dangerous man. A mafia man. Matteo's uncle. Every few minutes, Lorenzo would glance at me like making sure I was real. Making sure I hadn't vanished. Why are you helping me? Finally asked. His eyes found mine in the rearview mirror. You want the strategic answer or the honest one? Both. Strategic. Matteo's been embezzling from the family for 8 months. I've been building a case to destroy him. You're the final piece. Proof he's willing to commit assault and extortion. He paused. Honest, because I've watched you disappear for 6 months. Because at your engagement party, you looked at me like I was human. Because, he stopped. Because what? Because I haven't felt alive in 8 years. His voice went rough. And then you smiled at me. And I felt everything. The air in the car thickened. Tarch. We arrived at the villa as the sun was setting. A stunning stone fortress tucked into the Tuscan hills, surrounded by olive groves and lavender fields. Private. Isolated. Beautiful. Lorenzo led me inside to a room lined with filing cabinets and evidence boards. My brother's accident wasn't the first crime documented there. 12 other victims, Lorenzo said, spreading files across a massive oak table. Extortion. Assault. 2 suspected murders. Your brother wasn't the first. But you're the one who's going to help me end this. I stared at the evidence. Photos, testimonies, financial records. Years of meticulous investigation. All these people will get justice. Because of you. The weight of it crashed over me. I'd been so focused on my own suffering, I hadn't realized Matteo was a monster to everyone, not just me. I broke down. 6 months of holding it together, of playing the good fiancé, of drowning in silence. It all came pouring out in ugly, gasping sobs. Lorenzo pulled me against his chest and held me while I shattered. Didn't tell me to stop crying. Didn't tell me to be strong. Just held me like I was something precious that needed protecting. I'm so stupid, I gasped. I believed him. I believed Sophia. You're not stupid. You're trusting. There's a difference. He tilted my face up, thumbs wiping away my tears. And he exploited that. Used your faith against you. Made you feel ashamed of something powerful. What's powerful about being a 26-year-old virgin everyone mocks? His eyes flashed. The fact that in a world where everyone takes, you had the strength to wait. To choose. To say, not you, to men who didn't deserve you. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. That's not weakness, Bellissima. That's sovereignty. No one had ever framed it that way. Ever. Matteo said I was frigid. That something's wrong with me. Matteo is an idiot. Lorenzo cut me off. You're not frigid. You're discerning. And he couldn't handle that his money and name weren't enough to make you want him. How do you know I didn't want him? Lorenzo stepped closer, voice dropping to something intimate. Because I've watched you for 6 months. I've seen you flinch when he touches you. Seen you fade when he talks. Seen you come alive only when he's not around. Closer still. And I've seen the way you look at me when you think no one's watching. My pulse kicked into overdrive. How do I look at you? Like you're terrified of wanting something you think you shouldn't have. The air between us ignited. I could feel the heat of him, smell bergamot and something darker, see the way his eyes had gone molten. What if I do want something I shouldn't? I whispered. His eyes went dark with hunger. Then take it. You've spent your whole life being the good girl. The obedient daughter. The forgiving friend. His hand slid into my hair, gentle but possessive. When do you get to be the woman who chooses what he wants? I don't know how. Yes you do, he murmured. You knew in the elevator. Running from him. Or to me. His mouth hovered over mine, close enough to kiss. You already chose Bellissima. Now let me show you what that choice means. I thought he'd kiss me. Wanted him to kiss me with an intensity that shocked me. But he pulled back. Not yet. I blinked, confused and frustrated. Why? Because when I kiss you I want you sure. Not running from something. Running towards something. He cupped my face. I want you choosing me. Not escaping him. I am choosing you. Prove it. His thumb traced my lower lip and I shivered. Stay tonight. Tomorrow. The next day. Process everything. Heal. And when you're ready, when you know this is what you want, not just what you're rebelling against, then you come to me. It was the sexiest, most respectful thing anyone had ever said to me. He showed me to a guest room, beautiful with French doors opening onto a terrace overlooking the valley. Left me with clean clothes, toiletries, privacy. That night I lay in the massive bed, mind racing. I was free. Samuel was safe. Matteo was being destroyed. And I wanted Lorenzo with an intensity that terrified me. Not because I was running from Matteo. Because Lorenzo made me feel alive. Day 1. Morning. I woke to sunlight and the scent of espresso. Found my way to the terrace and froze. Lorenzo was there, shirtless, practicing with knives. His body was a map of violence. Scars across his ribs, a tattoo over his heart, Italian script I couldn't read. Lean muscle that moved with lethal grace. I couldn't look away. He caught me staring. Smiled, predatory and knowing. See something you like, Bellissima? My face burned. I fled back inside, embarrassed and aroused and completely out of my depth. Later he found me in the studio he'd set up. A room full of fabric and sketching supplies. What are you making? He asked. A dress. For myself. Something I'd actually choose, not what Matteo wanted me to wear. Show me. I showed him my sketches. Bold, colorful, African-inspired. Nothing like the refined European style Matteo had pushed on me. Lorenzo studied them with genuine interest. This is who you are. Not the pale copy he wanted. Charged moment. He stepped closer. I thought he'd kiss me. But he pulled back. Not yet. You're not ready. Frustration flared. How do you know? Because you're still afraid. He brushed my cheek. When you're not afraid anymore, you'll know. Dave. I wrestled with desire versus faith. Is this sin? Being here with him? Wanting him? But Matteo mocked my faith. Lorenzo respects it. Matteo demanded my body as payment. Lorenzo wants me as partner. My faith taught sacrifice for love. Lorenzo embodies that. Evening. Dinner together. Wine. Conversation that felt dangerous and intimate. Lorenzo opened up about his wife Elena. How she died 8 years ago in childbirth. Their baby girl Isabella. I thought I died with them, he said quietly. That I was just going through motions. And now I feel guilty for wanting to live again. He looked at me and I saw vulnerability in those whiskey eyes. You make me want to live, Imelda. And that terrifies me. That vulnerability from this dangerous man undid something in me. I reached across the table. Took his hand. Maybe we're both terrified, I said. And maybe that's okay. His fingers tightened on mine. And I knew I was ready. Night 2. I was in my room staring at the ceiling when Lorenzo's phone rang. I heard his voice from downstairs, controlled but with an edge. Then, she can hear you. I'm putting you on speaker. Footsteps. He appeared in my doorway, phone in hand, expression unreadable. It's Matteo, he said. I want you to hear this. He hit speaker. Matteo's voice filled the room, rage barely controlled. I want her back. No, Lorenzo said simply. She's mine. We had a contract, a wedding. She's not property, Lorenzo interrupted. And she chose to leave. Chose. Matteo's laugh was bitter. She's confused. Emotional. She'll come back once she calms down and realizes she has nowhere else to go. She found the report about her brother, Lorenzo said, voice cold as death. She knows what you did. Silence. Then, that's not, I can explain. And she found you fucking her best friend on your wedding day. Longer silence. I could hear Matteo breathing hard. So she told you. His voice turned vicious. Of course she ran to you. I saw how you looked at her at the engagement party. Like you wanted to fuck the virgin yourself. Lorenzo's grip on the phone tightened. I saw murder in his eyes. The difference between us, nephew, Lorenzo said, voice lethal, is that I would never make her feel ashamed of her choices. I would never mock her faith. And I would never take something she wasn't ready to give. Pause. You treated her like a whore you were paying for. I treat her like the queen she is. You self-righteous, she's a frigid little. Finish that sentence, Lorenzo said, deadly soft, and I'll cut out your tongue. Matteo laughed, unhinged. Big words. But you can't have her. She's too good for you. Too pure. Too devoted to her precious God. His voice dripped with contempt. You'll never touch her, Zio. Because she's saving herself for marriage and you're not the marrying type. So enjoy your little fantasy, but she'll never give you what she wouldn't give me. For someone worthy, Lorenzo finished. Which you never were. He hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. Lorenzo stood there, chest heaving slightly, phone clenched in his fist, eyes blazing with rage and something else. Something that looked like pain. Did you mean that? I asked quietly. What you said. Every word. The queen part. He crossed to me, eyes burning. Imelda. You could have crumbled when you found that report. When you found him with Sophia. Instead you ran. You fought. You chose freedom over security. You chose yourself. His hand cupped my jaw. That's not a victim. That's a fucking warrior queen. Something in me snapped. All the shame Matteo had piled on me. All the fear. All the good girl programming that said I had to be perfect, had to forgive, had to sacrifice myself for everyone else. Gone. Lorenzo, I breathed. I'm ready. His eyes searched mine. Ready for what? To choose. To stop running from what I want. I stepped closer, feeling bold and terrified and alive. To stop being afraid. Imelda. His voice strained. You need to be sure. Because once we cross this line. I'm sure. I interrupted him, hands finding his chest, feeling his racing heart. I'm sure that Matteo never made me feel what you make me feel. I'm sure I've been waiting my whole life for someone who sees me. Not my virginity, not my faith, not my obedience, but me. My voice strengthened. I'm sure I want you. Not because you're saving me. Because you make me feel alive. Lorenzo's control fractured. But he didn't move. Didn't touch me. Just stood there breathing hard, hands clenched at his sides like he was physically restraining himself. If we do this, he said, voice rough, it's not a rebellion. It's not revenge against Matteo. It's choice. Your choice. You understand. I understand. My hands slid up his chest to his shoulders. I choose you. Something in Lorenzo's expression cracked. Relief and hunger and something that looked like reverence. Then let me do this right, he said. His mouth crashed onto mine. The kiss was nothing like Matteo's grabbing, demanding kisses that had made me feel cornered. This was claiming. Lorenzo's hand fisted in my hair, angling my head exactly how he wanted, and his other hand spanned my waist, pulling me flush against him. I gasped at the contact, all hard muscle and controlled strength and heat, and he used the opening to deepen the kiss, his tongue sliding against mine in a way that made my knees weak. I'd been kissed before, but I'd never been kissed like this. Like I was air and he was drowning. Like he'd been waiting for this moment as long as I had. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Come with me," he murmured. He took my hand and led me through the villa to his bedroom. Dark woods, clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the valley. The bed was massive, and looking at it made my heart hammer with anticipation and nerves. Lorenzo turned to face me, and the heat in his eyes made my breath catch. "Last chance to change your mind," he said, breathing hard. "Because I'm barely holding on, Bellissima. And if we start this, I won't be able to stop." I thought about Matteo calling me frigid. About Sophia mocking my choices. About 26 years of waiting for someone who'd make this feel right. "Then don't hold on," I said, surprising myself with my boldness. "I'm tired of everyone treating me like I'll break. I'm steel, remember?" Lorenzo's smile was proud and feral. "Yes, you are." He crossed the distance between us in 2 strides, and this time when he kissed me there was no hesitation. No holding back. Just pure devastating want. His hands found the zipper of my dress, one of his sisters that I'd borrowed. "Tell me if you want me to stop," he murmured against my mouth. "At any point. I'll stop." "I don't want you to stop," I breathed. The dress pulled at my feet. And Lorenzo looked at me like I was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "Bellissima," he whispered. "So fucking beautiful." His hands skimmed up my sides, reverent, almost worshipful. Every touch made me shiver. Made me arch toward him. "I don't know what to do," I admitted, suddenly nervous. "You don't have to know anything." His mouth traced down my neck. "Just feel. And tell me what you like." Then he was laying me down on that massive bed, and I was learning what it felt like to be truly wanted. Not for what I could give. Not for what I represented. But for me. "You're not frigid, Bellissima," Lorenzo murmured against my skin, his hands learning what made me gasp, what made me moan. "You're fire." And God help me, he was right. Lorenzo's bedroom was bathed in moonlight, and I was coming apart under his hands. He'd been patient. So patient. Learning my body like it was sacred text he was determined to memorize. Every touch reverent. Every kiss deliberate. Building something inside me that felt like it might shatter me. "Lorenzo," I gasped. "I can't, it's too much." "Yes, you can." His voice was rough velvet. "Let go, Bellissima. I've got you." And I did. I shattered. Came apart completely while he held me through it, murmuring praise in Italian I didn't understand but felt in my bones. When I came back to myself, he was watching me with something like awe. I couldn't finish. Had no words. "Just the beginning," he said, and the promise in his voice made heat pool low in my belly again. He undressed slowly, letting me see him. The scars. The lean muscle and dangerous grace. He was beautiful and terrifying, and I wanted him with an intensity that shocked me. "Are you absolutely sure?" he asked one more time, hovering over me, breathing hard. "Because once we do this..." "I've never been more sure of anything," I interrupted. "I choose this. I choose you." Something in his expression cracked open, raw emotion he quickly masked. "Then let me make this good for you." He was careful. So careful. Checking in constantly. "Does this hurt? Too much? Tell me what you need." What I needed was him. All of him. The dangerous and the gentle. The controlled and the barely restrained. "I need you to stop treating me like I'll break," I finally said. His eyes flashed. "You sure about that?" "Yes." "Okay then." His hand fisted in my hair, tilting my head back, and his mouth found that spot on my neck that made me moan. "But you tell me if it's too much." It wasn't too much. It was perfect. The claiming was slow, intense, deliberately paced. Lorenzo made it about me. My pleasure, my power, my choice. Every thrust deliberate. every touch reverent. You're giving me a gift I'll never deserve, he murmured against my throat. But I swear I'll spend my life honoring it. The words undid me, as he meant them. You're not winning something from Matteo, I gasped. This isn't about him. It's about us. I know, Lorenzo breathed. It's always been about us. When I shattered the second time, he followed me over the edge with my name torn from his throat like a prayer. We lay tangled together, breathless and trembling. That was... I searched for words. That was nothing like I expected. Better or worse? His voice held a hint of smugness. I laughed, actually laughed. Better. So much better. Good. He pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Because that's how you should always feel. Alive. Comfortable silence settled around us. I traced the tattoo over his heart. Italian script I couldn't quite read in the dim light. What does this say? I asked. His hand covered mine, holding it there. Isabella. My daughter's name. I got it after she died. So I'd never forget. My throat tightened. You could never forget. No. But the pain fades. And then you feel guilty for the fading. He was quiet for a moment. Elena, my wife, she'd want me to be happy. I know that. But it's hard to let yourself live again when they can't, I finished softly. Yes. I pressed my lips to the to his daughter's name. Thank you for letting yourself live again. For me. Lorenzo's arms tightened around me. Thank you for making me want to. We lay there as the moon traveled across the sky, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. Lorenzo. I said eventually. Thank you. For making this about me. For not treating it like you won something from Matteo. He tilted my face up, eyes serious. I didn't win anything from Matteo. You're not a prize, Imelda. You're a choice. And you chose me. He swallowed hard. I'm the one who won something impossible. A second chance at feeling human. I kissed him, soft and deep and full of things I wasn't ready to say yet. But I felt them. Oh God, I felt them. We must have dozed because I woke to pre-dawn light and Lorenzo's phone buzzing insistently on the nightstand. He grabbed it, checked the screen, and his entire body went rigid. What is it? I asked. His expression had gone from tender to lethal in a heartbeat. Text from my consigliere. We have a problem. He showed me the screen. Problem. Matteo kidnapped Imelda's mother from the hotel. He knows you're together. He wants her back or your mother dies. We have 6 hours. My blood ran cold. My mother. Oh God, my mother. Lorenzo was already moving, pulling on clothes with military efficiency. Get dressed. No. We're ending this tonight. What? How? He has my mother. And I have 40 men, multiple safe houses, and 8 months of evidence that will destroy him and everyone he loves. Lorenzo's voice was ice. He made a mistake, Bellissima. He took this from business to personal. And I'm very, very good at personal. I dressed with shaking hands, my mind racing. My mother. Sweet, gentle Grace Mafia, who'd never hurt anyone. Who sang in the church choir and made the best polo in Nairobi. Terrified. In Matteo's hands. I'm coming with you, I said. Absolutely not. She's my mother. My voice came out fierce. And I'm done hiding while other people fight my battles. You said I was a warrior queen, remember? So let me be one. Lorenzo studied me for a long moment. Then nodded slowly. Hey, but you follow my lead. And you stay behind me at all times. Understood. Understood. He cupped my face. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Or your mother. I promise. I know, I said. And I realized I trusted him. Completely. This dangerous man who'd been a stranger a week ago. Because he'd proven himself in every way that mattered. We headed downstairs to find his men already assembled. Jason and a dozen others in tactical gear, weapons ready. Boss, Jason said. We've located Matteo. Warehouse in the industrial district. He has 6 men with him and Mrs. Amalfi. Then let's go get her back, Lorenzo said. We loaded into 3 vehicles and drove through the dawn-lit Tuscan countryside toward Rome. Toward confrontation. Toward whatever came next. And I wasn't afraid. Because I wasn't alone anymore. The warehouse sat in Rome's industrial district like a concrete tumor. Abandoned. Isolated. Perfect for what Matteo had planned. We parked 3 blocks away. Lorenzo's men deployed with military precision. Some covering exits, some on rooftops, some with Lorenzo and me approaching the main entrance. You stay behind me, Lorenzo reminded me. At all times. I will, I promised. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. You have 5 minutes. Come alone or she dies. Just you, Imelda. No, uncle. Lorenzo read it over my shoulder. His jaw tightened. He wants to separate us. Classic move. Then we don't let him. Exactly. We approached the entrance. The door swung open before we reached it. And there was Matteo. He looked terrible, unshaven, wild-eyed, still wearing the shirt from our wedding. Behind him I could see my mother tied to a chair, tears streaming down her face. Mama. I started forward. Lorenzo's hand on my arm stopped me. Matteo smiled, sharp, cruel. Imelda. So glad you could make it. Though I said alone. That was never going to happen, Lorenzo said coldly. We entered the warehouse. Matteo's men materialized from the shadows. 6 of them armed. Lorenzo's men filtered in behind us, silent, professional. Suddenly the odds were much more even. Matteo circled us slowly, predatory. When he got close to me I saw him really see me for the first time since I'd fled. And I watched realization dawn. You fucked him. Not a question. A horrified accusation. You wouldn't give yourself to me, your fiancé, but you gave it to him? My uncle. I lifted my chin. Yes. Matteo's face went purple. You whored yourself too. I chose, I interrupted, voice ringing clear. I chose Lorenzo. Because he earned what you never could. Respect. Respect. Matteo laughed, unhinged. You let him defile you. You were supposed to be mine. I was never yours. I stepped forward and Lorenzo let me, though I felt his tension. You destroyed my brother. You betrayed me with my best friend. You made me feel ashamed of choices that were actually powerful. Another step closer. Lorenzo made me feel like a queen. So yes, Matteo. I chose him. And it was the best decision I ever made. Matteo's hand flew to his waistband. Drew a gun. Pointed it directly at me. Lorenzo moved to intercept, but I held up a hand. Stopped him. Shoot me, I said calmly, staring down the barrel. Prove you're exactly the coward I always knew you were. Stand off. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then, lower the weapon, son. Matteo's father emerged from the shadows, flanked by his own men. More than Matteo had. More than any of us expected. Papa, Matteo's voice cracked. I said lower it. The elder Armante's voice was granite. He looked at me with something like respect. Miss Mafia. I apologize for my son's behavior. Lorenzo showed me the evidence. All of it. He turned to Matteo, disgust clear on his face. What you did to her brother. To 12 other innocent people. What you did to her faith. Mocking her, shaming her, using her best friend to humiliate her. His voice hardened. You're no son of mine. I did it for the family, Matteo started. You did it for yourself, his father spat. Lorenzo, he's yours. Do what you need to do. Lorenzo could have killed him. Should have killed him. I saw the desire in his eyes. But he looked at me instead. Your choice, Bellissima. What do you want? I walked to Matteo. Looked him in the eye. Saw the moment he finally understood what he'd lost. I want you to live, I said quietly. I want you to wake up every day in prison and know that I gave Lorenzo what you tried to steal. That I chose to give him my virginity. The thing you mocked me for keeping. I leaned closer. I want you to know he made me feel things you never could. That he's everything you pretended to be. And that the frigid church girl you dismissed. I smiled. She's a queen. And you never deserved to touch her. Matteo's face crumbled. Complete devastation. Because he finally got it. He hadn't just lost a wife and a business deal. He'd lost a woman who would have been loyal, fierce, powerful, if he'd been worthy. And his uncle got all of it. Lorenzo's men moved in. Zip-tied Matteo and his crew. My mother was freed, sobbing, falling into my arms. Mama, I'm so sorry. Shoo baby. You're safe. That's all that matters. Sophia was arrested too. Turned out she'd known about Samuel, had stayed silent, had actively participated in keeping me trapped. Accessory charges. 10 years minimum. Matteo got 20. Assault, extortion, attempted murder. Lorenzo's brother officially disowned him. Restructured the family business with Lorenzo as undisputed leader. Justice. Finally. 6 months later. I stood outside the courthouse in Rome, Lorenzo's hand in mine, watching Matteo be led away in handcuffs. Reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Miss Amalfi, are the rumors true? You're engaged to your ex-fiance's uncle? I smiled. Actually smiled. Yes. Aren't you concerned about the age difference? The family connection? About what? I interrupted. Marrying a man who respects my choices? Who protected my family? Who sees me as an equal? I looked at Lorenzo with open love. No. I'm not concerned. I'm grateful. Lorenzo kissed me right there in front of all of them. And I kissed him back unashamed. Because I'd learned something important. Sometimes the most sacred choice is choosing yourself. And sometimes the man who looks like the devil is actually your salvation. We drove back to the villa. Our villa now. I'd officially moved in 3 months ago. My boutique was flourishing with Lorenzo's connections and my talent. Samuel was regaining some function with experimental treatments. My parents had gradually accepted Lorenzo after seeing how he treated me. Like a queen. Always like a queen. That evening at the villa, the terrace overlooked the Tuscan valley, sunset painting everything gold. I stood at the railing watching the light fade, feeling Lorenzo's arms slide around me from behind. Any regrets? He asked, chin resting on my shoulder. Only that I didn't crash into you sooner, I murmured. That question I asked in the elevator, he said quietly. Running from him or to me? I turned in his arms, looking up at this dangerous, beautiful man who'd become my everything. I was always running to you. From the first moment you defended me at that engagement party. When you asked if I was happy and I couldn't answer. When you looked at me like I mattered. I cupped his face. I just didn't have the courage to admit it until I had no other choice. Best decision you ever made, he teased. Second best, I corrected. Oh, what's the first? Choosing to give you my virginity, I said, completely unashamed. Because in doing that I wasn't just giving you my body. I was reclaiming my power. From Matteo. From Sophia. From every voice that told me I was wrong for waiting. My smile was fierce. And I gave it to the one man who actually deserved it. Who saw it not as a prize to win but as a choice to honor. Lorenzo's eyes burned with emotion. I love you, Imelda Amalfi, soon to be Armante. Every fierce, stubborn, powerful inch of you. I love you too, I breathed. My dangerous, protective, surprisingly soft-hearted mafia boss. He kissed me as the sun set and I thought about everything that had led to this moment. I'd come to Rome a good girl looking for a fairy tale. I'd found a nightmare wearing a charming mask. But in running from that nightmare I'd crashed into reality. And reality was better than any fairy tale. Because fairy tales don't show you that sometimes the princess saves herself. That sometimes the most sacred choice is choosing your happiness over everyone else's expectations. That sometimes the man who looks like a devil is actually an angel who sees your worth. And that sometimes, the best revenge is living so fully, so completely, so vibrantly that the person who tried to cage you realizes they never had you at all. You were always free. You just needed permission to claim it. My parents had flown in from Nairobi. Samuel was there too, in his wheelchair but smiling with increased mobility from the treatments Lorenzo had funded. Lorenzo's family, the ones who'd accepted us, filled the rest of the table. It was loud, chaotic, beautiful. I caught Lorenzo's eyes across the table, and the look he gave me was pure possession and pride. My father stood tapping his wine glass. I'd like to say something. The table quieted. When Imelda first told me she was, he paused, choosing words carefully, involved with Lorenzo, I was concerned. Understatement. He'd been devastated. His daughter with a mafia boss. But over these months I've watched how Lorenzo treats my daughter. With respect. With care. With the kind of love that honors rather than diminishes. He looked at Lorenzo. You see her worth. You protect without controlling. You love without possessing. And for that you have my blessing. My mother wiped tears. Samuel raised his glass. Lorenzo stood, walked to my father, shook his hand. I'll spend my life proving I'm worthy of her, he said quietly. Even though I know I never will be. None of us are worthy of the women we love. my father said with a small smile. That's why we spend our lives trying to deserve them. The men embraced and I had to blink back tears. Later everyone had left. Samuel to his accessible apartment nearby. My parents to their hotel. Lorenzo's family to their homes. The villa was quiet except for the sound of Tuscan night. Crickets, distant church bells, the whisper of wind through olive trees. I found Lorenzo on the terrace where this had all begun 6 months ago. You're thinking, I said, sliding into his arms. Dangerous habit, he murmured. I was thinking about that day. When you ran into my elevator. What about it? I asked you if you were running from him or to me. But the truth is I was asking myself the same question. He turned me to face him. Was I saving you from my nephew? Or was I being selfish, taking something I wanted? Both, I said simply. You can be noble and selfish at the same time. Save me and want me. Protect me and need me. I pressed my hand over his heart, feeling it beat steady and strong. That's what love is. Complicated. Messy. Perfectly imperfect. When did you become so wise? He teased. When I stopped being afraid of wanting something for myself. He kissed me, soft, sweet, full of promise. Marry me, he said against my lips. I pulled back, laughing. We're already engaged. I know. But I want to hear you choose me again. Every day. For the rest of our lives. Yes, I said, no hesitation. Always yes. In a Roman prison, Matteo Armanti stared at a wall covered in scratches marking days. 6 months. 183 days. 4,392 hours of knowing exactly what he'd lost. Not a business merger. Not an exotic trophy wife. Not financial security. But a woman. A queen. Someone who would have been loyal and fierce and powerful, if he'd deserved her. He'd had everything. And he'd destroyed it through cruelty, arrogance, entitlement. And his uncle, quiet, controlled, dangerous Uncle Lorenzo, had claimed the prize Matteo had been too stupid to value. The truly bitter part? Lorenzo hadn't won anything. Imelda had chosen him. That's what Matteo would never understand. You can't force love. Can't manipulate devotion. Can't control passion. You either earn it, or you lose it. And Matteo had lost everything. I stood in our bedroom, wearing the wedding dress I'd designed myself. Bold, colorful, unapologetically African and Italian in me. Tomorrow we'd marry for real. Small ceremony. Just family. Just us. Lorenzo entered, stopped dead when he saw me. Bellissima, he breathed. You're stunning. You're not supposed to see the dress before. I don't care about superstitions. He crossed to me, eyes burning. I care about you. About this. About us. Nervous. I teased. Terrified, he admitted. That I'll wake up and this will have been a dream. That you'll realize you deserve better. I kissed him quiet. Stop. You're exactly who I'm supposed to be with. The man who saw my worth when I'd forgotten it. Who made me feel powerful when the world tried to make me small. Who loved me not despite my choices but because of them. I'm keeping you forever, he murmured. You know that, right? Good, I said, smiling against his mouth. Because I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with this queen. Best fate I could imagine. And as we stood there wrapped in each other, I thought about the girl who'd fled a wedding 6 months ago in a torn dress and bare feet. She'd been terrified. Broken. Lost. But she'd been brave. Brave enough to choose freedom over security. Brave enough to choose herself over everyone's expectations. Brave enough to crash into the arms of a dangerous man and discover he was actually her salvation. No. Now she was a queen. No longer running from anyone. Finally running toward the life she deserved. If you enjoyed this one, type Queen Imelda. If you want to know what happened when Matteo's prison brother escaped and came for revenge, and I had to go full Mafia queen to protect Lorenzo. Because trust me, this queen has claws.